Expose Evil here. Like, share, subscribe. Today I'm doing a video about this movie called MidSommer. The same director of Hereditary, which if you see my other video, Black Magic Spirit Spouses, the Satanic Ritual Abuse in the Spirit World, you would know about the movie Hereditary and how they shout out the demon Payman, which is one of the powers of Satan, which is a demon, a real demon. So in this movie, they show the worship of Nimrod, exactly like it's explained in Ezekiel 8, the vision of idolatry, they call it. Now let's get right into it and show you some of the stuff that caught my eye. First, let's start with the maypole. This is I guess it looks like going to be the cover of the DVD or the poster they're going to put out in movies or whatever. And we got the maypole in the middle. And yes, they're circling, they're dancing around it. If you know anything about the maypole, that's what they do. They do the maypole dance, the merry dancing, whatever they call it. Now I'm going to use a little Wikipedia for this. I know Wikipedia is not credible all the time. They do give a lot of good information, but they mix a lot of lies and bullcrap in here, okay? But I'm going to use this for the maypole. This is very popular. A lot of people know about it. You can find information all over the internet. The maypole is a tall wooden pole erected as a part of various European folk festivals around which a maypole dance often takes place. The festivals may occur on May Day, May 1st, or Pentecost, White Sun, although in some countries it is instead erected at MidSommer, like the movie. In some cases, the maypole is a permanent fixture that is only utilized during the festival, although in other cases it is erected specifically for the purpose before being taken down again. Primarily found within the nations of Germanic Europe and neighboring areas which they have influenced. Its origin remain unknown. I'm going to show you where it comes from. It has often been speculated that the maypole originally had some importance in the Germanic paganism of Iron Age, the early medieval cultures, and that the tradition survived Christianization, albeit losing any original meaning that it had. However, more recent scholarship has found the custom of the maypole arose in the context of medieval Christian Europe. It has been a recorded practice in many parts of Europe throughout the medieval and early modern periods, although it became less popular in the 18th and 19th centuries. Today, the tradition is still observed in some parts of Europe and among European communities in the Americas. I'll scroll down and I click symbolism and I skipped a paragraph and I got this. The symbolism of the maypole has been continuously debated by folklorists for centuries, although no definitive answer has been found. Some scholars classify maypoles as symbols of the world access mundi. I'm going to go back to that. The fact that they were found primarily in areas, Germanic, Europe, where prior in Christianization, Germanic paganism was followed in various forms, has led to speculation by some that the maypoles were in some way a relic of a Germanic pagan tradition. One theory holds that they were a remnant of the Germanic reverence for sacred trees, as there is evidence for various sacred trees and wooden pillars that were venerated by the pagans across the Germanic Europe, including Thor's Oak and the Irminsul. Ronald Hutton, however, states that there is absolutely no evidence that the maypole was regarded as a reflection of it. It is also known that in Norse paganism, cosmological views held that the universe was a world tree known as Yggdrasil. Some observers had proposed phallic symbolism. Phallic is a male genitalia. An idea which was expressed by Thomas Hobbes, who erroneously believed that the poles dated back to the Roman worship of the god Priapus. This notion has been supported by various figures since, including the psychoanalyst Sigmund Freud. Phallic symbolism has been attributed to the maypole in the later early modern period, as one sexual reference is in John Cleland's controversial novel Fanny Hill. If you want to read it, here you go. Now we're going to go to Axis Mundi. I want to say first that it is a cosmic symbol of the sun, moon's rotation, and planets' rotations and all that. And it's also a fertility symbol, like they were saying, of a male genitalia or phallus. Let me read here. The Axis Mundi, also cosmic axis or world axis, world pillar, center of the world tree. Here we go, tree pops up again. Let me say that real fast. I'm going to give you some proof later on too. Nimrod, or Tammuz, was represented by pillars, trees, or more specifically the evergreen tree, or the Christmas tree, because Tammuz was born in December 25th, or the winter solstice. So you're going to see how it all comes together in this video. Let me continue reading. In certain beliefs, the philosophies in the world center, or the connection between heaven and earth. As a celestial pole, the geographical pole, it expresses a point of connection between sky and earth. Okay, now, remember it's all sun worship or nature worship. It is Satanism through Nimrod, okay? As a celestial pole in the geographical pole, it expresses a point of connection between the sky and the earth where the four compass directions meet. I'm skipping a little bit, and the images relates to the center of the earth, perhaps like an umbilical providing nourishment. It may have the form of a natural object, a mountain, a tree, a vine, a stalk, a column of smoke or fire, or a product of human manufacture. A staff, a tower, a ladder, a staircase, a maypole, a cross, a steeple, a rope, a totem pole, a pillar, a spear. Its proximity to heaven may carry implications that are chiefly religious. Pagoda, Temple Mount, minaret, church, or secular. Obelisk, like in Egypt. Remember they said Adonis worship is the same as Osiris, so they'll probably use the obelisk instead of a maypole. Just lighthouse, rocket, skyscraper. Now we can see them going around the maypole, and you can see the yellow, I don't know, whatever they have there. That's supposed to represent the sun. I guess they're supposed to represent the planets and going in rotation around the sun. Here goes another screenshot from the trailer. Again, you can see them dancing around. You can see the sun right there in the middle. Okay? Remember, they said it's a fertility symbol or phallus. See the different sexual positions. Here more sun symbolism. Now, if you might have noticed on the maypole in the picture from, or the screenshot from the trailer, the sun is in the middle of the X, or the cross. This is also symbolic for the sun hanging on the crooks. And they will believe that the sun is dead at this time. And it hangs on the crooks for 3 days and then rises. And here's Jordan Maxwell, a Freemason, who I used to listen to about 10 years ago when I thought I was awake. And all he was doing was perverting the word in the name of Jesus. Let's hear this bullcrap so you can understand this bullcrap these people are dishing out.
The sun, which was doing just fine, it was really hot and doing great. And then when it reached the halfway point, the constellation that it hits every fall is the constellation of Scorpio. Scorpio is the constellation that begins autumn, and therefore it's this kiss of death. The scorpion has kissed God's son, and now he's going to be led to his death in Capricorn. He's going to die. He has fallen. The great Son of God has fallen, and he's going to fall all the way down to the southern hemisphere until he hits the first day of winter, which is December 22nd. Yes. On December 22nd, the sun rises on the lowest latitude, on the lowest point in the southern sky. Now follow what I'm saying. The sun rises on the lowest degree on the 22nd. On the 23rd, the sun rises on the same identical degree. It's so perceptive. The U.S. Navy has the instruments to tell you it did not move 1 degree south, it did not move 1 degree north. It's on the same identical degree. On the 24th, it rises, and it's still on the same identical degree. Therefore, the ancient Egyptians knew that, and they said God's son was dead for 3 days. But on the 4th day, which is December 25th, the United States Navy devices will tell you that the sun moved 1 degree northward. 1 small degree northward. It's just enough because the ancient people said anything that was dead for 3 days and has just moved 1 degree northward is born again. It's come back to life.
Blasphemy. Now, if you're a real Christian, then you know you never find the date December 25th being the birthday of Jesus Christ. This was added on by a pope or someone around Constantine. I'm not sure right now, but it's not that important. Just know that December 25th is the birthday of Tammuz, the son of Nimrod and Semiramis. Alright, now we have The Ancient Mysteries and Modern Masonry by Charles H. Vail. First, let me see. Read you this definition. Circumambulation, from Latin circum around, and ambulatus, to walk, is the act of moving around a sacred object or idol. That's in the Maypole, right, guys? Here we go. Page 200. The rite of circumambulation. Sorry if I butchered that. The rite again connects Freemasonry with the ancient mysteries. It consists in a formal procession around the altar. Now, altar can be an object, as a maypole also, okay? And originally alluded to the apparent course of the sun, which is from east to west. In the ancient Greece, the priests during the rites of sacrifice walked 3 times around the altar while chanting a sacred hymn, which was divided into 3 parts, and each part was sung at a particular point in the procession. Now let's see if we see that in the movie. If anyone wants to watch it when it comes out, I will make another video on it. And here's Bible Hub, and this is commentary for Ezekiel 8:3. It says, he does not even say that it was a divine hand. I'm going to skip that part. He's talking about the beginning of Ezekiel 8. I'm trying to keep this short. So it says, door of the inner court. Rather, door of the gate of the inner court, looking toward the north, i.e. the northern gate of the inner court. The word inner is wanting in LXX. The general opinion has been that the prophet was set down in the inner court at the inner door of the northern gateway into the court. The term door, however, seems to be in usage to mean the outside entrance, and if the prophet had stood in the inner court, he would have had to look northward through the gateway in order to see the image of jealousy, which was certainly not in the inner court. Let me stop and say first, I believe the image of jealousy was a phallus, or the male genitalia, like the obelisk, because it said it can be seen from afar. And as we see, the maypole is also a phallus. I'm going to show you a little bit more later. Let me continue reading. Which was certainly not in the inner court. It was more natural to suppose him to sit down in the outer court in front of the gateway leading into the inner court. In front of the gateway in the outer court stood the image of jealousy near the entrance. Having seen that the prophet is next brought into the gateway, where he enters the chamber of imagery, some one of the cells in the gateway building. From there he is carried outside the sacred enclosure together of the north door of the outer court, where he finds women bewailing Tammuz, or weeping or crying for Tammuz. And finally he is transported into the inner court, where he beholds the sun worship practiced in front of the temple houses. Alright, now that we understand that it's a sun image, or representing the astral pole, or cosmic pole, or whatever, it also has a double meaning as it looks like a woman's genitalia. If you put it like this, it makes more sense. Had a triangle. I don't know if everyone knows a triangle is 60 degrees in each corner. You go on 666. The circles represent the two ovaries. The middle represents the womb. And it's the worship of Tammuz, the weeping of Tammuz. He is known as the sun god, and they had the sun in the middle. And he's the son of Nimrod. I don't know if it makes sense, but just popped into my head. So I wanted to show it. Now we'll go to Ezekiel 8:14 commentary. This is Gil's exposition of the entire Bible. I'm going to skip to this part. And behold, there sat women weeping for Tammuz. They were not in the court of the women, where they should have been, but at the northern gate near the place of the sacrifice, and they were sitting there, which none but the kings of the house of Judah and of the family of David were allowed in that temple. But what was the greatest abomination? They were weeping for Tammuz. Alright, now I'm gonna play an audio of the trailer, and it's of this woman speaking to someone who was unconscious and looked like they just woke up. And she's told them, you can't move, you can't speak, but this will open you up to the influence. And as soon as she says this will open you up to the influence, they showed the scene of the guy breathing in the incense. And there was another thing. It said that all the elders had the incense holders, and they were lighting incense in the temple to Tammuz. Now, how symbolic was that? The weeping of Tammuz, right there in that in the trailer. Now let's continue to read some more. Let's see. Making Tammuz glad in the month of Tammuz, they made a feast to the idol. Alright, the month of Tammuz in the Jewish calendar, which we really don't go by, it's a Babylonian zodiac calendar. But the month of Tammuz matches up with June. And that's, that's the summer solstice time. So let me see if I show you another clip from the movie. You see here, it's a big feast, including with their sun worship. So it was a great feast to the idol, and women came to make him glad. Others say that with great diligence they brought water to the eyes of the idol called Tammuz, and it wept, signifying that it desired they would worship it. Others interpret the word Tammuz as signifying burnt, from the words in Daniel 3:19, to heat the furnace, and as it should say, they wept for him, because he was, for they burnt their sons and daughters in the fire, and the woman wept for them. And you can see in this scene, they're going to burn these people for sacrifice. He further observes that Maimonides writes that he found written in one of the books of the ancient idolaters that there was a man of the idolaters' prophets whose name was Tammuz, who called to a certain king and commanded him to worship the 7 stars and the 12 signs of the zodiac, for which the king put him to a violent death. And there you go, the zodiac. And the 12 signs of the zodiac and the 7 stars. They're talking about 7 planets, astrology. This is all the same. The zodiac science. This is all Kabbalah. It's witchcraft. It's the worship of Tammuz, Nimrod. It's spread everywhere from Genesis 11:8. It says, just skipped a little bit. It says, I have seen, says he, in Byblos, a large temple of Venus, Byblia, where they performed the rites unto Adonis, and I was a spectator of them. The Biblians say the affair relating to Adonis or his death by a boar happened in their country, and in memory of it every year they beat themselves. Lamech offers sacrifice, and great mourning goes through the whole country, and when they beat themselves and mourn, they sacrifice to Adonis as dead. But the day following they pretend he is alive, and they shave their heads as the Egyptians do at the death of Apis. If you don't know who the Apis is, it's a bull, and it's a symbol of Osiris after his death, I believe. And indeed it is thought by some that this Tammuz is Osiris of the Egyptians, the same as Mizraim, the first king of Egypt. So you see Mizraim, the first king of Egypt, and then his successor was Amun-Ra. And they're going to throw him in there too, the first king of Egypt, who was being slain in battle. His wife has ordered that he should be worshipped as a god, and yearly lamentation made for him. And indeed, Osiris and Adonis seem to be one and the same, only in different nations called by different names. Mention is made in Plato of Themis, a king that reigned at Thebes over all Egypt, and was the god called Amun. It's Amun-Ra. No doubt the same with this Tammuz, and who is also called in Syriac and Arabic version Tammuz or Tammuz. He seems to be the same with Ham, and Egypt was called the land of Ham. Psalms 105, verse 27. And it is most probable the Jews borrowed this piece of idolatry from the Egyptians, their neighbors, in whom they were now very familiar, and from whom they expected to help against the Chaldeans. But as there were such shocking obscenities used in this idolatrous service, it is most amazing that the Jewish women who had been instructed in the law and the worship of God should ever go into it. And I'm going to stop after this guy. Gusatius thinks that Bacchus, the god of wine, is meant and gives several reasons for it, and among the rest observes that in the 4th month, called Tammuz, from him the vine was formed in ripe grapes. Near the beginning of the 5th month, it was pressed out and turned up. Alright, now I'm going to stop right there with Bacchus. Bacchus is also Dionysus in Rome. That's the son of Zeus. Now, let me pause this.
The Master Mason, authorized by the Grand Lodge of Free and Accepted Masons of Indiana, compiled by Committee on Masonic Education, page 9 and 10. And this agrees with what our Bible is saying. You know, these people worship this guy, so you gotta take what they're saying. You gotta take some of their stuff, what they're saying is truth, even though we know they're perverting a lot. The idea that lies behind the Homeric legend is as old as religious thinking among men. The same elements existed in the story of Osiris, which was celebrated by the Egyptians in their ancient temples. The old Persians told it concerning Mithras, their hero god. In Syria, the Dionysian mysteries had the very same elements in the story of Dionysus. For the Roman Bacchus was the god who died and lived again. There is also the story of Tammuz, older than any of these. These are collectively referred to as the ancient mysteries. They were celebrated by secret societies much like ours in allegorical ceremonies during which initiates were advanced from one degree to another. In these old societies, read these old stories for yourself and marvel how men in all ages have taught the same great truth in the same effective way.
This is Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, page 419. It says, in these mysteries his death was represented and mourned, and after this macreation and mourning were concluded, his resurrection and ascent to heaven were announced. See, it's perversion. It's perversion of the scripture of Jesus' story. And let me say before I read the rest of this, that the way that Semiramis knew the story was when the Hebrews were in captivity in Babylon. They already knew of the coming of Jesus, some say 1,000 years, and at least hundreds of years before he came, and they knew a lot about him. And this is how Semiramis found out about Jesus. And what she did was put all those descriptions that she heard and attributed them to her son. And this is why we hear that he was a shepherd and that he died and resurrected. And they try to pervert it with stuff like the sun sits on the crux for 3 days and then it rises again. That's all perversion, okay? Let me continue. Ezekiel speaks of the festivals of Adonis under the name of those of Tammuz, an Assyrian deity whom every year the women mourn, seated at the doors of their dwellings. These mysteries, like the others, were celebrated in the spring at the vernal equinox, when he was restored to life, at which time, when they were instituted, the sun, Adon, Lord or Master, was in the sign Taurus and the domicile of Venus. Now, it's not a lie. Bible dictionaries, you'll find that Adon means Lord or Master or owner, husband, father. And even Webster's says Adoni, Hebrew for my Lord, God, Lord, used as in Hebrew reading as a substitute for the ineffable name Jehovah. See, Jehovah. I believe it's Yahweh though, but that's a whole nother story. So I might as well read about Adonis right here. It says Adonian pertaining to Adonis, Adonia pertaining to Adonis, a festival celebrated anciently in honor of Adonis by women who spent 2 days in alternate lamination and feasting. Adoniac, a verse consisting of a dactyl and spondy or truchy, as those used in bewailing the death of Adonis. Adoniac, pertaining to Adonis. Adonis, in Greek mythology, a young man beloved by Aphrodite. Because he was so handsome, he was killed by a wild boar. Second definition is any very handsome young man. That was from Webster's Deluxe Unabridged Dictionary, 2nd edition. And now I'm going to give the definition they give in the back part of the dictionary. And here, a dictionary of noted names in fiction, mythology, and legend. It says Adonis, in Greek mythology, a beautiful youth, beloved by Venus and killed by a wild boar. The myths connected with Adonis are of Eastern origin, and he himself appears to be a personification of the sun. Tammuz, Assyrian, Babylonian, Sumerian, Demuzi, literally, probably, I don't know what that means, but son of life, son who rises, a Babylonian and Assyrian god whose supposed annual death and resurrection is symbolized by the winter and spring cycle, the 10th month of the Jewish year, also spelled Tammuz. A Babylonian god of agriculture, the Assyrian counterpart of Adonis. So they also mentioned Osiris in the Bible commentary in 814 as being the same as Tammuz. So it says Osiris, the ancient Egyptian god of the lower world and judge of the dead, husband and brother of Isis. And you can see they changed the sexual perversion and the incest, because if you know Tammuz Tammuz was born of Nimrod, who married his mother. So that was his mother and his wife, and they made Tammuz. So it's an incest child. In Egyptian mythology, one of the chief gods, the source of life and fruitfulness, the sum of all beneficent agencies, the creator and the god of the Nile, he was the father of Horus and the husband of Isis, after he had been slain by his brother Set, the personification of all evil. They call Set Satan in their Egyptian mythology. Osiris became the judge of the dead, and his soul animated the sacred bull Apis, the Apis bull. Thus, under this form, Osiris continued to be present among men. Amun was also mentioned. Amun, Hebrew, Ammon, Egypt. Amun, Amen, he who is hidden, same as Amen, in ancient Egypt, a name for Zeus or Jupiter. Amun, Hebrew, Ammon, literally probably populous in the Bible, a Semitic tribe descended from Lot's son. An ancient Egyptian deity identified by the Greeks and Romans with Zeus and Jupiter, represented with the head or horns of a ram. Bacchus was also mentioned in the commentary. It says Bacchanalia in classical antiquity, feasts in honor of Bacchus, the god of wine, which were celebrated in spring and autumn with games and shows, just like Adonis, right? A drunken feast and orgy. Bacchanalian, a drunken courser. Bacchanalian, or like bacchanals, or a bacchanalia. Noisily drunken, carousing, orgiastic, bacchanalism, the practice of bacchanalian rites, drunken revelry, righteous festivity, bacchanalianly, bacchanalian manner, a bacchant, or bacchants, or bacchants, so I don't know, sorry. It says to celebrate a feast of Bacchus, a priest, priestess, or devotee of Bacchus, a bacchanal, one given to intemperate reveling. They appear in a state of intoxication and are as Bacchus in a delirium res. Whatever that means. Formerly in Germany, a wandering student. Bacchant, a bacchanalian, wine-loving, reveling, caressing. Bacchante, or Bacchantess, a priestess of Bacchus, or one who joined in the celebration of the feast of Bacchus, when in a state of bacchanal frenzy. Hence, a woman addicted to intemperance or bacchanalian revelry. Bacchanaric, of or like Bacchants, or Bacchantess. Baccharac, same as Baccharac. Whatever it means. Okay, name of a shrub dedicated to Bacchus, a large genus of plants, natural order, composite. They are shrubs or herbs, the genus containing more than 200 species, all native of America. Just like the witches love to play with these plants and do spells and stuff, right? Relating to Bacchus, Bacchic or Bacchical. Relating to Bacchus, the god of wine, or his worship as a Bacchic feast or song, Bacchic mysteries, often bacchanalian, cursing, drunken, mad with intoxication. Bacchus, an ancient prosody, a foot composed of a short syllable and two long ones. Bacchus, finally, in Greek and Roman mythology, the same. It said the Roman mythology, the god of wine and revelry, son of Zeus, Jupiter, and Semele, earlier called Dionysus by the Greeks. He is said first to have taught the cultivation of the grape and the preparation of wine and other intoxicating liquors. Bacchus, the Greek and Roman god of wine and son of Zeus, Jupiter, and Semele in Greek, commonly called Dionysus. Dionysia supply Hera offsprings. The Dionysia from Dionysus, any set of various Greek festivals in honor of Dionysus, especially those at Athens from which the Greek drama originated. Ain't know anything about persons and acting for my common law freeman up there. Dionysic of a or pertaining to the Dionysian or Dionysus. Dionysian pertaining to Dionysus from same as Dionysiac, of or pertaining to any several historical figures named Dionysus. Dionysian period, a period of 532 Julian years. Dionysus. In Greek mythology, the god of vegetation and wine, identified with the Roman god Bacchus. A Greek name of the god Bacchus. They also name Priapus in the when I was reading about the maypole on Wikipedia. So Priapian, a collection of poems upon Priapus by various authors in ancient prosody, a species of hexameter summitable into two parts or 3 feet each, as follows. Priapian, or of relating to Priapian, relating to Priapus, the god of procreation. Priapic, same as Priapian sense to Priapism. A pathological condition categorized by persistent and abnormal erection of the penis, usually without sexual desire. Priapus, or Priapus, I don't know how you pronounce it, but in Greek and Roman mythology, a god personifying the male function of generation, conceived as the son of Dionysus and Aphrodite, the god of procreation. A representation or symbol of the male generative organ, a phallus. the genitals of a male. So that's what Priapus means. They don't have another definition for him in the back. Sorry about that. And we see the same thing in Acts 7:43, where it says, "Yes, you took up the tabernacle of Moloch, the star of your god Remphan, figures which you made to worship them, and I will carry you away beyond Babylon." And we see, scroll down, Barnes notes on the Bible. He says Moloch. This word comes from the Hebrew word signifying king. Just like Bel means Lord, just like Adon means Lord. These were names they were titles, but these Nimrod took these names, or people at least called him by these titles and thought that was his name. You know, it never, like Alexander Hislop said in The Two Babylons, King or Moloch never signified anything bad until Nimrod took it as his name and then associated those rites of murdering babies and, you know, drinking blood and satanic ritual abuse and all that. Let's scroll down. And it says right here, some suppose it was in honor of the planet Saturn, others the Sun, others Mercury, Venus, Electric. So you see right here, Saturn was, or Kronos, the father of Zeus. The father of Zeus. Zeus is the father of Dionysus or Bacchus. And Hercules. Some people mention Hercules. We see here in Gill's exposition of the entire Bible. It says, "Ye took up the tabernacle of Moloch," sometimes called Moloch and sometimes Milkhorn. It was the god of the Ammonites, same as Amun. The same with Baal. The one signifies king, and the other Lord, and was no doubt the same with the Apis, or Serapis, of the Egyptians, and the calf of the Israelites. Frequent mention is made of giving seed to Moloch, and causing the children to pass through the fire to him. What do we see leading up to Acts 7:43? We have right here Acts 7:41. That was the time they made an idol in the form of a calf. Right? We know the Apis bull. Osiris would be the bull. Horus would be the calf.
A History of Phallic Worship by Richard Payne Knight. Page 120. Read this so you can see that Nimrod, his wife, and his son are nothing more than all these pagan gods. Like Venus, that's Semiramis. Her son Cupid would be Tammuz. You know? Alright, here goes. Among the Egyptians, as before observed, the cow was a symbol of Venus, the goddess of love and passive generative power of nature. On the capitals of one of the temples of Philly, we still find the heads of this goddess represented of a mixed form, the horns and ears of a cow being joined with the beautiful features of a woman in prime of life, such as the Greeks attributed to that Venus, whom they worship as the mother of prolific god of love. Cupid was the personification of animal desire or consumptiveness, as Orphic love, the father of gods and men, was universal attraction. The Greeks, who represented the mother under the form of a beautiful woman, naturally represented the son under the form of a beautiful boy. But the people who represented the mother under the form of a cow would naturally represent the son under the form of a calf.
This is Babylon Mystery Religion, 1966, by Ralph Wildrow. This is supposed to be on page 4, but it's on page 10 here for some reason. Okay, this says, much of the Babylonian worship was carried on through mystery symbols. It was a mystery religion. The golden calf, for example, was a symbol of Tammuz, son of the sun god. Since Nimrod was believed to be the sun god, or Baal, fire was considered as his earthly representation. Thus, as we shall see, candles and ritual fires were lighted in his honor. In other forms, Nimrod was symbolized by sun images, fish, trees, pillars, and animals. Like I said earlier, like we read earlier, the trees, the Axis Mundi or the maypole. If you know Dagon with the fish, he's also Dagon. I hope you liked my video. Please share this video, get this information out there. These festivals are already taking place. June 2nd is going to be another one. It's supposed to start off again. They say the 40 days of Lent is the same thing from the Catholic Church. This is, get this out there, this is Satanism. This is what witches are. Look at this. This is just a picture of a cartoon notepad from Halloween. And what made them think about putting Saturn right there? Because they know who Saturn is. It's Nimrod. Just wake up, people. Come on. Read your Bibles. If you're waking up now, you want to serve Jesus. Ask for forgiveness. And you gotta cancel any oaths you made with any demons. You gotta renounce your oath and take an oath with Jesus.